I dreamt of Amelia last night, as I have again and again since that very day. The answer to the question that always hangs in the air above me like her precious clouds, beckoning, and all the grinding,
the droning,
the engines of the shaking ship,
on and on and on,
mixing all of space and time,
on and on. Earhart-Duo Tusker, repeat, Earhart-Duo Tusker, fuel is running low, repeat, fuel is running low.
Something is wrong, we can't get a bearing on you.
Repeat, fuel is running low, fuel is running low.
That was many years ago. And every night.
You cannot imagine the experience. Extraordinary. Splendid.
I hear a voice.
1937. President Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Population 128,849,829.
Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs hits theaters and immediately becomes a classic.
Japan invades China. Amelia Earhart's plane disappears over the Pacific.
The end to this story is no mystery.
Amelia doesn't miraculously pull through in the end.
She's not stranded on some deserted island.
What happened to the first female to fly over the Atlantic was and will always remain a mystery. But through the memories of her husband,
we see not only the woman behind the wheel, but her miraculous life.
And men.
That made her who she was.
Amelia Earhart by Kathryn Schultz Miller. And who am I? Well, I'm George Palmer Putnam, full of schemes and plans, who knew how to use the press to get rich quick. Now, mind you, I was already rich. But you can never get too much money, and you can never get too much publicity. Good morning, Miss Earhart.
Good afternoon, Mr. Putnam. We had an appointment for 11:45, but it has since been an hour and a quarter. So it is indeed afternoon, Mr. Putnam. Sir.
Ah, so it is.
You know, I want to talk to you about...
Not much to you, is there?
Excuse me?
Small-boned.
I would assure you that my bones are quite adequate.
Still, there's something about you. Oh, smile.
What? Why don't you give me something to smile about?
Well, how about this? You will become the first woman to fly over the Atlantic. You will further your nation's message of goodwill all across the world. You will further the advancement of womankind.
Yes!
I knew how to call them. The newspapers fairly screamed the news. Extra, extra, read all about it. Goals construction, gonna fly the Atlantic. Girl pilot dares to pick up Earhart plane to soar over the Atlantic. Oh, but I had a thing or two to learn.
Yes, GP?
We should get the people in line for the film, don't you think?
No.
Why not?
Because I haven't made the flight yet.
But woman, don't you want to get the business end of this done now?
No.
Not a no. Not a no, not even a no. Before you go, a diary. I want you to record your thoughts while you're on the plane.
We're 3,000 feet up and more than 2 tons of us are flying at top speeds through the air. We're in a bit of a storm now and it's a bit of a bumpy ride and we're not really sure what lies up ahead! Land! Ireland!
The news of Amelia's successful crossing nearly flashed around the world.
This is all too good to be true. I'm being compared to Charles Lindbergh. And you know, while this is all very flattering, I can't help but think if the reporters ask him, as they are constantly asking me...
But can you bake a cake?
So you know what? I'm accepting this award on behalf of all the women out there who do things as important, if not more important, than flying. Thank you. What's the big idea?
Your New York Times exclusive?
She would rather read than eat. She'd rather sit on the ground than on a chair. She'd rather fence than play bridge? What drivel?
They love it.
Why on earth would anyone care?
When asked if she ever thought about giving up the flight, she said...
Never! I love life and all it has to offer. I want every opportunity and adventure it can give. GP? Would you mind if I flew the Atlantic again? No, I didn't say it, but he knew what I meant. This time, I would not be a passenger. This time, I would be alone. And you know, this time would be different. There'd be no announcements, no headlines. No, no expectations. All I brought with me were the clothes on my back, a toothbrush, and the bracelet GP gave me for good luck. And when the weather was clear, we took off. You know, people ask me if I was lonely. I mean, can you imagine to be completely and utterly alone in the air? I was exhilarated. I was in awe. And then, suddenly, disaster. We flew into this storm with deep, dark clouds, and you had no way to tell how high you were. So I just kept pulling up and pulling up and pulling up, and then the wings started to ice over, and then the entire plane started to ice over, and the plane went into a spin. But I knew I had to land, and I looked, but there was a coast, just no airport, just tiny fields dotted with cattle. But I knew I had to land. And so I did.
Marry me.
No.
No, marry me.
No.
Marry me.
Perhaps. But famed flyer will remain Miss Earhart.
It was 1929 when the stock market crashed. Black Tuesday, they called it. And America was now flying by the seat of her pants. But it's unthinkable. I simply won't tolerate it.
You won't tolerate it? Good. That makes it that much more exhilarating.
But a flight around the world, it's been done.
Not by a woman. Not by Amelia Earhart. We need the money. GP. Imagine if you publicize this thing. Can you imagine the speeches, the lectures, the books?
Your last, you say?
My last. Around the world, then I'll stay home.
You will?
I will.
It was 1937. In the news that year, Hindenburg explodes over Manhattan skyline. Joe Louis takes the heavyweight crown. San Francisco's Golden Gate is complete, just as the world's most famous female flyer starts the first leg of her trip around the world.
You know, I can't help but feel at peace now that we've taken off. The cabin is a strange green blue, and the sky is a rosy yellow. And there's Venus setting a little bit to the right. You know, I don't look at these things as landmarks, just tiny beacons of destiny.
Extra, read all about it. Amelia hops to Venezuela, Brazil, Asia, Siam, and finally touchdown in Lele, New Guinea. Amelia was on the last leg of her flight when everything went wrong. And all the grinding,
and the droning,
all the engines of the shaking ship,
on and on.
Up space and time,
all mixed up, on and on. Earhart-Duo, Tosca, repeat, Earhart-Duo, Tosca, fuel is running low, repeat, fuel is running low.
Something is wrong, we can't get a bearing on it.
Repeat, fuel is running low, we're running north and south, we're running north and south.
And those were the last words that anyone heard Amelia Earhart speak. Extra, read all about it. World flyer lost.
Warship catches faint signal.
Amelia missing in Pacific.
Amelia floating in Pacific. Disaster ends all hope.
A will pull through. Am I nervous? Sure, but she's one of the bravest people I know. We just have to keep up hope.
You cannot imagine the experience.
What happened, Amelia?
Extraordinary.
What happened?
Splendid. It's as if you are your own private star, and you are its center.
I think of you on that bright morning. Your last, you say?
My last. Around the world, then I'll stay home.
You will?